My role as a church insurance consultant is to provide local support to our church customers. Now, that could be a face-to-face meeting to discuss individual insurance arrangements. It could be a speaking slot at an event, or providing training in person or online. I cover the East Anglia area, which includes the whole of Ely Diocese. We've been insuring churches for over 135 years now, and the people that work for them. Significant proportion of the whole group's profits go to the Benefactor Trust, and they in turn then donate independently to projects run by churches and Christian-based charities. And in fact, Benefactor Trust did give an initial grant towards the Reach Ely project. In our view, if a church is closed and there's no activity, then actually it's easier for somebody to get into those premises unnoticed. But not only that, if the church is locked, then it can actually suffer quite substantial physical damage to the building when an intruder tries to get in. If a church is open to visitors and there's a steady flow of people coming in and out, then actually that's a deterrent for an opportunist thief or vandal. So we actually like that as an insurer, and we see it as a positive deterrent if the church is left open. The only thing that I want to highlight from our perspective is when we're talking about a church being open, we are talking about during daylight hours. If it's open at night time, that does unfortunately pose some additional risks, and we do have a different view on that. But if a church is open at night, then, we need to know about it and we can have that conversation. We also have a website which has got lots of useful guidance and tools in relation to managing risks within churches. We also have a risk line where people can call and speak to one of our risk management surveyors. On our website, you'll find lots of documents, template risk assessments and short videos just to provide that risk management guidance. We understand why churches might be reluctant to open their buildings, but being open to visitors does have a lot of benefits in our view. It's firstly a key element in the link with the local community. People can come in for private prayer, they can come in for a bit of alone time, or just come in to admire the beautiful surroundings. If you have got visitors on the premises, you could see an increase in donations, so that's a positive as well. And as I mentioned before, a steady flow of legitimate visitors could deter criminal intent. And what we do is we suggest that a church adopts a risk-based approach individually, because each church will face different security challenges. In respect to the premium, there is no impact on the premium, providing that the church is open during daylight hours, as I mentioned before, and also the proper risk assessments have been completed. But I would encourage any churches to get in contact with us if they've got any queries, because we can discuss it on an individual basis. If churches are wanting to reopen, they need to find the right balance between accessibility and security. Our expectation is that churches will take sensible precautions to protect the property, and that just means taking a few steps. So first of all, carry out a review of security. It doesn't need to be complicated, and the requirements, as I mentioned before, will vary church by church, but it's about identifying sensible precautions for your church. We do have guidance on our website. We suggest letting local residents, the neighbours, know that the church is going to be operating an open door policy. That way they can keep their eyes open, their ears open, and they can report anything suspicious. Encourage local people to pop into the church whilst passing by. Now, that could be dog walkers, it could be people dropping their children off at school. You could draw up a rota of volunteer stewards. We know in reality that's not always possible due to a lack of volunteers. But if you can't do that, then it's not something we insist on. And you could just try and encourage community groups to use the church frequently. We advise you to mark all portable valuables with Ecclesiastical approved forensic marking, such as smart water, and just ensure that all associated signage is prominently displayed outside of the building, because that does act as a deterrent. Lock away any valuable items in a safe. In particular, silverware and brassware. We're not saying you've got to lock everything away. It's just a common sense approach. And also valuable furniture, we suggest you lock that away in a secure area such as a vestry. And then just to reduce the risk of arson, we would advise you to remove or lock away anything that could be used to start or feed a fire. So we're talking about things like matches, petrol, and combustible items such as paper, hay and straw. It was developed by our risk management team. It actually marks key risks throughout the calendar year that help protect the church and those people who work for it. Each month covers a risk and then provides guidance on how best to manage that risk. So, for example, in January, you'll find information on water pipes and heating because it's relevant to that part of the year. And then in May, you'll find information on events because we know that churches are looking to sort of hold events through the summer months. You can download a copy of our risk management calendar from our website. The Ecclesiastical Church Fundraising Hub, it has a free wealth of support and guidance and tools to help you fundraise successfully. So what we wanted to do was to provide some easy to use resources to make fundraising simpler and more successful. The online hub, it contains articles, blogs and help sheets on a variety of different topics. Now that could be from starting up a fundraising team to a checklist for grant applications. The hub also contains a collated list of top funders that support church projects and that are currently providing grants. And there's a search function. Church can look up a specific project and see what sort of funders there are out there for them. There's also a series of recorded webinars with expert speakers sharing their insights. No two churches are the same, so we realise that, and we've actually developed some fundraising guidance for small rural churches as well. And as well as the resources on our online hub, we know that everybody doesn't have access to technology, so we've also developed a fundraising in a box, which is like a printed toolkit that we've sent out to all our customers. And that has 4 booklets that break down the fundraising process in like a simple way. And it also contains posters and templates. If any of our church customers haven't received one of those, then they can get in contact and we'll arrange for one to be sent out to them. A colleague mentioned about a case study that they have. They were delivering an Open Churches presentation. And after that presentation, a local vicar got in contact with them. And they said that they're new to role and that the church that they're now working in is closed and has been closed for quite some time due to a theft that took place some time ago. And that's something that we hear quite often, that people are reluctant to open because they've had a theft quite some time ago. He asked her if she would be happy to attend the church, have a look round and speak to some of those cautious PCC members about, the reasons why it would be good to open. So she went along, she identified with the PCC any items that could be easily targeted, like things like wall safes, and went through the ecclesiastical guidance with them and just sort of answered any questions from those cautious PCC members. And I think after that, they were then a bit happier about it. And they did like a trial run of just opening a few days a week. That was successful. So they then are now opening every day. And actually they're getting really positive feedback in their visitors book from people saying they're really happy to see that the church is open now. But the main message, I think, for us is that if there are any changes or problems, then we would encourage churches to speak to us and to also speak to the DAC and to speak to policing teams as well. As I said, I'm here as the local support for our church insurance customers. They can contact me about anything and I'll always try and find them the answer. So I usually get questions in relation to policy cover, risk management, quite a lot on security. If I can't help, then what I will do is I will signpost them to someone who can, either internally or externally. So I do work a lot externally with like archdeacons, area deans, DAC, and also policing teams. Unfortunately, with the last few years' events, we do understand churches are struggling financially. We're hearing that story quite a lot. So what I would do is just encourage anyone who has any concerns at all to get in contact with us. We want to support churches, not just on insurance, but also on wider issues as well. We have a wide range of topics available to our church customers, and they've been tailored to suit church customers. Introduction to insurance is a popular one with treasurers, especially those that are new to role and don't know much about insurance. And then we have our health and safety presentations. We find that's quite popular at Churchwarden training. Coming out of lockdown, fundraising was a common subject, along with our Open Churches presentation. Theft of metal, we offer guidance on that as a presentation. I think what's important to note is that we actually will tailor our presentations to suit individual needs. But not only that, there's lots of topics out there, there's lots of concerns for churches, and we're open to suggestions if anyone wants a presentation on a different topic. So we do understand that time locks can be convenient, but they do present some disadvantages over conventional mechanical locks. And that's because if you're using a time lock, then there's not somebody physically there present to open and lock the church. But we do know that a lot of our church customers do want to use them. So if a time lock is fitted, then we suggest that a church official visits the premises every 2 to 3 days, just to make sure there's no suspicious activity and make sure that it's still clean and tidy, but also importantly to look out for any potential damage, such as malicious damage, fire, theft, water damage, because that could be a policy condition. The locking apparatus should be installed and maintained as per the manufacturer's instructions. We have detailed guidance of time locks on our website, but what I would encourage churches to do is if they're thinking of having a time lock, just to let us know and have that conversation with us about it.
So we're here at St Mary's Church in Comberton. We are just under 6 miles southwest of Cambridge. We have a population of just under 2,500 people. We're situated just a tiny bit out of the village, but very accessible. The building is Grade 1 listed building, lots of historic bits. Uniquely, our organ here at St Mary's is the Village War Memorial, which is quite unique. The time lock came about really because of the inconvenience of people having to come and unlock and unlock. And actually, at the point we had it installed, we were not opening during the day. Our church was locked because there was a concern about people coming in during the week unsupervised, but actually that hasn't been an issue for us. It's known in the community that the church is open during the day. The door automatically unlocks early in the morning, at the moment at 8 o'clock, and then it locks again in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. We do keep an eye on things. If there were ever any concerns, then either myself or my fellow warden would be alerted straight away. We've also got some very close neighbours that keep a close eye on the church. If ever there's anything they're concerned about, we do get a phone call really quickly. So this is the door that we have the automatic locking system attached to. It's very straightforward. So at the moment it is daylight, so that it is automatically locking and unlocking. So I could just go to the door and open it. If it were locked, I would just simply use the keypad to get in, and that's useful obviously when it's locked and we want to visit in the evening maybe. So if the door were to lock, in the case of a power cut, or if it was the evening and somebody has accessed using the code, they would simply unlock the door by pressing the green button. The church is open during daylight hours. There are people from our community who don't necessarily worship at this church that we know come here for private prayer. We also have various people coming during the working week to practice the organ or to clean. From a churchwarden's point of view, from my point of view, it means that I don't have to visit the church twice a day, every day to lock and unlock. We do have lots of visitors come that are visiting Cambridge a lot of international visitors that have traced ancestors from this area. They come and visit the church and they're really pleased to find it open. In fact, just today, the visitors book has got a comment in there from somebody who has visited and thanked the church for looking after it and keeping it open. We've seen an increase in that since the pandemic, because there was a period that we were locked. People come for various reasons, and we're just delighted that there are people that can enjoy our beautiful building, even when we're not here to worship.